When we were kids, two of the very first words a lot of us learned were please and thank you, right? We were taught to say thanks when someone gave us a piece of candy or a gift or just did something nice. It's kind of the foundation of good manners. But what if gratitude is supposed to be way, way more than just a word we say? So, is saying thank you really the end of the story? Well, according to a really powerful sermon, the answer is a big, clear no. It suggests the Bible actually paints a much richer, much more active picture of what it truly means to give thanks. So, we're going to break down the key ideas from this teaching. It uncovers 7 totally distinct ways the people in the Bible showed their gratitude. And believe me, these go far beyond just polite words. We're talking about action, about outward expression, and even a complete transformation of your life. We'll explore this whole idea in 3 parts. First, we'll look at gratitude through tangible acts. Then we'll move on to vocal expressions. And finally, we'll get to what the sermon calls the ultimate form of thankfulness. So let's jump right in. Okay, first step, gratitude through tangible acts. The sermon argues that one of the oldest, most direct ways to show thanks isn't by saying something, but by giving something. And specifically, that means through offerings and by fulfilling our promises. To see this in action, we have to go all the way back to one of the very first stories in the Bible. You've got Cain and Abel, and both of them brought offerings to God. This was their physical, tangible way of saying thank you for the harvest, for the growth of their flock. They were literally giving back a piece of what they had been given. And that means a Thanksgiving offering isn't just some random gift. It's a huge act of honor. As it says in Proverbs, honor the Lord with your substance and with the first fruits of all your produce. It's about giving the best, the very first part, as a sign of just deep respect and gratitude. And that leads us to the second tangible act, actually keeping our promises. Just think about Jonah for a second. He's trapped inside a great fish, he's in total desperation, and he makes a vow to offer sacrifices if he's saved. The teaching here is really clear. A huge part of gratitude is following through on the promises we make when we're in need. All right, on to our second section where things get a little bit louder. See, gratitude isn't just about what you give, it's also about what you say and, what you sing. This is all about gratitude through vocal expression, a super powerful and often public act of thanks. The sermon points to the dedication of Solomon's temple as the perfect example. Just look at this progression. First, the people see something absolutely incredible, fire coming down from heaven. What's their immediate response? A physical act of bowing down in worship. And what comes next? They just erupt in song, this huge, collective, vocal celebration of God's goodness and mercy. So you can see vocal gratitude takes a bunch of different forms. It can be singing songs of praise, like King David was famous for. It can be publicly telling people about the amazing things you've witnessed, sharing your testimony. And it involves rejoicing together, which turns personal gratitude into this shared community experience. And get this, here's a fascinating little detail from the source teaching. Who was the very first singer mentioned? Adam. Apparently, when he first saw Eve, his joy just overflowed into what the sermon describes as a song. This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. It kind of suggests that song is one of our most natural, primal responses to receiving a wonderful gift. Okay, so we've covered tangible acts, we've covered vocal expressions, but the sermon builds to this final, really profound level, one that goes beyond both of those. This is presented as the ultimate form of gratitude, a life that is defined by love and total surrender. To help explain this, the sermon uses Jesus' parable of the 2 debtors. So one guy owed a small amount, the other owed a massive, totally unpayable debt. Both of them were forgiven. Now the question is, who would be more grateful? The answer is pretty clear. The one who is forgiven more loves more. Gratitude, in this sense, is directly proportional to love. So if immense forgiveness produces immense love, what does that love actually look like in practice? Well, the Apostle Paul gives us the answer, and it's really the absolute peak of this teaching. It's this complete shift in identity, where he says it's no longer about me, but about a life lived entirely for the one who gave everything. And this brings us to the final definition. True ultimate gratitude is a life fully surrendered. It's not a one-time offering or a song you sing on a Sunday. It becomes this constant state of being, where every choice you make, every action you take, is an act of thanks. It's no longer just about what you do, it's about who you are. So we've kind of journeyed from a simple word to an action to a song and finally to a whole way of life. This sermon suggests that gratitude isn't something you just say, it's something you live. And that really leaves us with a final question to think about. What does a life of gratitude look like for you?